Hey everyone, welcome back to Let's Talk About Mental Health. The topic of today's video is something I recently just thought about, like this morning, and it's about what I learned during hardship. And I think it's really important to talk about the lessons and the positives that are taken away from difficult situations, because although situations may seem dire and that no good whatsoever comes from it, there are important life lessons to be learned and substantial progress in growth to be made during these times. So just a quick background, I guess, of my experiences. I've experienced quite severe depression and social anxiety from a very young age, and I didn't get help for it until I was 17. Also during that time, which was the peak of my mental health issues, I developed this really severe medical condition where it's autoimmune, which means my own immune system attacks healthy body cells, and it resulted in really large open wounds on my legs, and it was not a pretty experience. I couldn't walk properly, I was limping, I had to ride my bike to school on where both legs were really wounded, and I had hospital visits every week, and the whole thing was just very scary. Especially because I didn't know what was going on until like 8 months later, where they finally figured out what the actual condition was. Little did I know it did not stop there. So after this condition went into remission, I developed another medical problem, which is gastritis, which is basically the inflammation of my stomach, and I had to be very careful with what I ate, and I was on medications for a very, very long time. And now I have like sugar intolerances to lactose, fructose, sucrose, basically 5-6 different sugars that I'm intolerant to, or like my system isn't able to absorb it properly. If I keep eating stuff that can't be processed, then I get really bad abdomen pain. Still, I'm on a very strict diet. It's a lot for a young person to be going through, but these experiences have taught me a few things. Firstly, it's to be grateful for everything, basically. Being able to walk, being able to eat whatever you want to eat without restricting your diet because of medical problems. It's basic human things that a lot of us take for granted, and it was something I took for granted before all of this hit me, and actually experience what it was like to live without it. And let me tell you, it's not a fun experience. Even simple things like showering was a tedious process for me because I couldn't get water into my open wounds, and I had to bandage my leg, wrap it in Glad wrap to prevent as much soap and water from entering it as possible, because if that gets in, it just delays healing. Just be grateful for things, because not everyone has the chance to live it out. Another important thing I learned was to keep going, and I think this pertains more so to my mental health than physical health. It's really easy to give up when we experience hardship and very difficult and unfortunate circumstances in our life. It can make us feel like there is no end to it and that we should just give up now. But what I learned is it does get better, even though at the current point in time of the stress it feels like it won't, but it really does. Something my therapist told me that's stuck with me to this day is do something each day so that you don't feel useless. If you manage to do something, it can give you a sense of achievement. Even if that thing is tiny, you still managed to do something, and that's something to be really proud of. And it makes you feel like you're making progress, because it is progress. No matter how small your steps might be, it's still progress. And it all adds up in the end. This might be something that's overlooked, but experiencing hardship taught me how to cope with difficult life circumstances, and it helped me build resilience against stressful situations. Back then, when everything was happening, I didn't know how to cope, and I didn't have a reference point to look back at to see what I did when I experienced a similar situation, and to take what I knew back then to cope to apply to this situation or the current situation. Back then I didn't have that because I didn't develop any coping skills. I didn't develop any helpful thinking patterns. I didn't develop anything. I had nothing. My toolbox was empty. But now, after having been through so much at a young age, also with help of therapy, it's taught me to take situations that may seem dire and try to put a positive and more realistic spin on it, because that way I can use it as an opportunity for growth and to better myself as a person. Experiencing all of this hardship also makes me more empathetic and patient towards people. In reality, we may never know what someone else is going through. If we're a little bit more patient with people and try to understand where they're coming from, it will make everyone's lives easier. The last thing I want to say is, whatever you may be going through in life right now, it's okay if you don't have the answers to everything. We don't come out of the womb knowing everything, and we shouldn't be expected to know everything, because we're all still learning and we're all human. It's 100% unrealistic to expect people to know how to deal with everything or cope with the situation or know how to help someone else. It's okay to not know. It doesn't make you a bad person. It just means that there's always room for learning. That's the end of the video. Thanks for watching. Take care, everyone.